So, you know that feeling when you just completely crush it at work all day? Like you
Yeah.
solve these massive problems, you manage your team brilliantly, you close the big deal.
Right. You're just firing on all cylinders.
Exactly. But then, you come home, you're lying in bed in this beautiful house, literally mere inches from the person you love, and you feel completely and utterly alone.
Yeah. Just staring at the ceiling.
Just staring at the ceiling, running the secret divorce math in your head. Or worse, you're asking yourself, well, is this just who I am now?
It's um it's really the ultimate paradox. I mean, we see these highly successful individuals all the time. People who command boardrooms and navigate incredibly complex business dynamics, yet they feel completely lost in their own bedrooms.
Oh, absolutely. It's so common.
Right? They have all the professional intelligence in the world, but like zero relational intelligence.
Which is exactly what we see all the time in the materials we analyze here. But today's deep dive takes this wildly different approach to this exact problem. We are unpacking Anna Shalina's framework, relating intelligence.
And specifically the 16-week mastermind built around it.
Yes, exactly. And the mission here is pretty radical. We are completely ditching what she calls the relationship hospital.
Because a hospital is, where you go to triage what's already broken. You go there when you're bleeding out.
Right.
Shalina is arguing that we actually need to head to the relationship gym. Like, this is about performance training. It's proactive, not reactive.
And the core premise that makes this gym work, and this is the big reveal we're unpacking today, is that love is not a mystery. It's not this inexplicable stroke of luck or some magical chemistry that you either have or you don't.
Right, which is huge.
It is a highly effective, measurable mathematical formula. And that formula is one decision plus three relationship ratios plus nervous system capacity.
Which, if you think about it, completely shifts the paradigm for an analytical mind. It takes all the mysticism out of romance and replaces it with tangible levers you can actually pull.
Yeah.
It turns out intimacy is an engineered outcome.
Engineered outcome. I love that. So the goal here is simple. By the end of this deep dive, you're going to stop treating your relationship like a guessing game. You'll see how this framework engineers a happy, successful relationship way faster.
Faster, and without wasting another year wondering why things are so hard.
Exactly. But before we get into the actual ratios and the math, the framework forces us to look at the person running the equation. That's the first variable, right? The one decision.
Yeah, so the instinct for most people is to believe the most important decision they will ever make in their romantic lives is who they choose to be with.
Right, the endless optimization of finding the right partner.
Exactly. But Shalina flips this entirely. The most important decision is who you want to be. You have to become the one to meet or to keep the one.
Okay, hold on. I have to push back on this a little bit, just on behalf of everyone raised on romantic comedies.
Oh, Ward.
This sounds like we're turning love into a corporate spreadsheet. What happened to just finding the right person and, I don't know, letting chemistry do all the heavy lifting? That's the whole fairy tale, right?
Sure, the puzzle piece myth.
Yeah. You find the missing puzzle piece and it just effortlessly fits. Are you saying I can't just rely on the spark on autopilot?
Well, think about it like this. If you launched a startup on pure luck and just hoped it magically survived the winter, you'd go bankrupt.
Oh, totally. You'd be done in a month.
Right. We readily accept that businesses require constant, co-authored adaptation. But we expect our most complex personal dynamics to just, run on autopilot.
That is such a good point.
When you put two people together, 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2. It creates a third entirely new entity. And to show up for that entity, you have to drop what the text calls your armor.
Let's dig into this concept of armor, because it sounds like a poetic metaphor, but the source material treats it as a hard biological reality. These are the childhood survival strategies we unknowingly dragged into adulthood.
They are literal physiological adaptations. Your armor is the identity you built to keep yourself safe from emotional pain when you were a kid.
Right.
But the exact psychological mechanism that kept you safe from perceived threats back then is now forming this massive wall. It completely blocks the vulnerability required for real intimacy.
The source gives us two incredibly vivid profiles on this that I think will resonate with a lot of high achievers. First, there's Adam, and his armor is achievement.
Oh, this one is brutal.
It really is. So Adam closes a massive contract on a Friday afternoon, huge win for his firm. But sitting in his car afterward, he feels absolutely nothing, just totally numb.
Yeah.
Why? Because his childhood script, which was driven by a highly critical stepfather, taught him to constantly move his own goalposts.
Yeah.
His nervous system was wired to believe that resting meant he was vulnerable to criticism. So if he always has to prove his worth, he can never actually stop and feel successful.
He's completely numb to his own life. And the takeaway is, if you are numb to your own life, you are inherently numb to your partner too. You can't celebrate them if you can't celebrate yourself.
Man, that hits hard. And then we have Steve, whose armor is being needed. Steve built his entire identity around being the ultimate provider, the guy everyone can count on.
Right, the fixer.
Yes, he is endlessly available to his business, answering every call at 9 p.m., solving every crisis. But sitting across the dinner table from his partner, he's emotionally vacant.
Just not there at all.
Nope. His subconscious logic is basically, first I build, then I get to love. But the building never stops.
Right. He is literally hiding inside the role of the provider. And here's the really brutal truth of the framework. Self-awareness isn't a cure.
Wait, really? Because therapy tells us self-awareness is everything.
It's just a front row seat to your own struggles.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing why Steve hides in his work doesn't magically make him present at dinner.
Ah, so you know exactly why you're ruining the relationship, but you still just ruin it anyway.
Exactly. You need a deliberate daily identity shift to drop that armor. You have to actively choose the behavior of the partner you want to be, rather than just defaulting to that old childhood survival script.
All right, let's say you've made that one decision. You are fully committed to dropping the armor. How does that translate to, I don't know, a random Tuesday night in the kitchen? You can't just guess your way through it.
No,
Yeah.
you can't. And that's where the second part of the equation comes in the 3 relationship ratios.
This is the day-to-day operating system. The 3 core ratios are the container ratio, the curiosity ratio, and the challenge ratio. And within those, the framework outlines 12 specific dials you can adjust.
Yeah, 12 dials.
Wait, the notes we have zoom heavily into challenge and curiosity. What exactly is a container ratio first?
Oh, so the container ratio essentially measures the structural safety of the relationship. It's the dials for trust, shared values, the basic logistical agreements that hold you together.
It's the foundation.
Yeah. Exactly, the foundation. But where couples usually experience the most immediate painful friction is when they mess up the challenge and curiosity ratios.
Okay, let's look at the challenge ratio then, specifically the dial between fun and feedback. The source material points out this hilarious but honestly painful truth about moving in together.
Oh yeah, the roommate phase.
Right. When you're dating, it's all fun. The fun dial is completely maxed out. But you move in. Suddenly it becomes an endless stream of feedback, which, let's be honest, is really just a sanitized word for criticism.
The environment completely shifts from play to logistics, and humans bond and regulate through play. When a relationship has a high ratio of fun, a piece of feedback is easily digested.
It just bounces off.
Right. But when the fun dial drops to 0, even a mild suggestion like, hey, you missed a spot on the counter, feels to the nervous system like a massive systemic attack on your character.
There's a case study in here about a guy named Leo that illustrates this perfectly. 14 years into his marriage, he feels like his wife has just morphed into a fault-finding machine.
Endless late-night lectures.
Just dissecting everything he does wrong. Well, when Leo got in trouble as a kid, his survival strategy was being sent to his room in silence. So as a grown man, his response to his wife's feedback is to retreat, go quiet, and basically withdraw his affection for a few days.
Which naturally triggers his wife to criticize him even more, creating this awful toxic feedback loop.
Right, it just snowballs.
But the intervention here wasn't, years of couples therapy to unpack his childhood bedroom. The intervention was simply turning the dial. Shalina advised Leo to designate their date nights strictly for fun.
0 feedback allowed.
0. By intentionally cranking up the fun ratio, the nervous system receives new physical evidence that the relationship is actually safe.
And then we have the curiosity ratio, specifically the dial between mystery and familiarity. The author notes that saying, I know exactly what she's going to say, is the absolute fastest way to flatline desire.
Because desire requires a gap to cross. It needs a little bit of unknown space. When the familiarity dial is pushed to the absolute maximum, you just flatten the spark.
You assume you have your partner entirely figured out.
Which means you actually stop observing who they are becoming today.
So it's literally like an audio mixing board for love. I mean, if you leave the familiarity fader pushed to the max for too long, you blow out the speakers.
Yeah, the whole system gets muddy and boring.
You have to pull it back so the system can actually hear the mystery track again. Or, like with Leo, slide the feedback fader way down to boost the fun frequencies.
I love that analogy. And if we carry that metaphor forward, the critical underlying mechanism here is that your nervous system is the ultimate sound engineer.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Your body is running a silent, continuous calculation all day long. safe versus unsafe, pleasure versus pain. By deliberately adjusting those dials, you are actively programming biological safety and attraction. It completely removes the guesswork.
Okay, adjusting audio dials sounds incredibly rational, but let's be real for a second. When you are absolutely furious in the moment, your brain isn't politely analyzing faders.
No, not at all.
When you're seeing red, logic just goes out the window. So how do we actually troubleshoot an active emergency?
That is the true test of this performance jam. Like, what do you do under acute stress? The framework offers 4 sequential questions you can use to troubleshoot in real time.
Okay, so here are the 4 questions. 1, what am I noticing? And there is a strict order to this body first, then emotion, then story. 2, what would I prefer? 3, on a scale of 1 to 10, how important is this right now? And 4, what am I doing about it now?
Let's apply those to the author's own anecdote from the text to see these mechanics actually in action. It's 10 a.m. on a random Tuesday. She decides she wants to clean the kitchen.
Just normie Tuesday stuff.
Right. Her boyfriend is working at the kitchen table on his laptop. She asks him to move. He says, just clean around me. She asks nicely again. He keeps typing. And she absolutely loses her mind. Tears, screaming, storms out of the room.
Which is a completely disproportionate reaction to a laptop on a table at 10 a.m.
Exactly. And disproportionate reactions are the flashing warning light that a historical pattern is driving the car, not your adult self. She realizes this reaction is an old childhood script.
Okay, what was the script?
Growing up, her mother frantically cleaned, while her father dominated the space verbally. So in her developing brain, the act of cleaning became intrinsically linked to a feeling of being profoundly disrespected.
Oh, wow. So her boyfriend wasn't the enemy.
No, his laptop was just a mirror reflecting this old painful loop.
So she forces herself to run the 4 questions. Question 1, what am I noticing? She notices her jaw tightening, heat radiating in her chest. That's the body.
Right.
Then she feels furious. That's the emotion. And then finally, the story. He doesn't respect me. I have to pause here because putting the story last is a massive paradigm shift.
It really is.
Our brains are basically these Hollywood directors instantly writing dramatic scripts where we are the innocent victim and our partner is a cartoon villain. Realizing that the story in your head is the least reliable narrator in the room that changes everything.
It dictates your entire response. If you lead with a story, you will attack. But if you lead with the physiological sensations, the body, and the emotion, you can observe yourself objectively.
Which clears the path for question 2. What would I prefer? And she realizes she prefers to feel like they are a team, not enemies.
Which leads right to the golden rule of question 3, the 1 to 10 scale.
Yeah.
Stop fighting level 2 problems like they are level 9 problems.
Yes, the kitchen table logistics, that's a level 2 issue. The core feeling of being respected and working as a team, that's the level 9. Don't go to war over the laptop.
Which brings her to question 4. What am I doing about it now? By answering that, she consciously chooses to stay in the room and communicate the level 9 issue. This is how the framework defines moving from a critic to a creator.
The source uses the phrase peace, power, and play repeatedly as the goal here. By shifting from critic to creator, you stop the historical trigger from ruining your Tuesday, which creates immediate peace.
You regain power over your own nervous system.
Right. And you leave room for playfulness instead of a cold war.
You essentially stop being hijacked by a ghost from your past.
Okay, running those 4 questions makes perfect sense on paper, but if I'm being honest, when my jaw is tight and my chest is hot, my brain isn't going to politely run through a checklist. It feels physically impossible to just choose to be calm when you are triggered.
And that right there is why the math fails without the final and really most crucial variable, nervous system capacity. You cannot outthink a hijacked nervous system.
The source material has this incredibly frustrating story about a guy named James. James dropped $5,000 on therapy specifically to learn how to speak calmly to his son.
Huge investment.
Yeah, he memorized the script, he practiced the exact tone of voice, but at the dinner table, when his son started yelling, James instantly lost his cool. Why? Because, as the author states, no script survives a nervous system that subconsciously feels under attack.
We have to look at the neurobiology here. When James's son yelled, James didn't experience it as a mild annoyance. His autonomic nervous system interpreted that loud noise as a literal physical threat. He shifted instantly into a sympathetic nervous system response, fight or flight. The amygdala completely takes over.
So his body is preparing to fight a tiger, not talk to a toddler.
Precisely. He heard his son's defiance as proof he was a failure as a father. You can memorize all the therapy speak in the world, but if your body feels threatened, those scripts just burn up on reentry.
Right.
He didn't need better words. He needed capacity. He needed the neurological muscle to feel the threat rise in his body, recognize it as a false alarm, and stay in his parasympathetic rest and digest state.
And this is where the mastermind comes in, because you can't just read a book about this and expect your biology to change. The Relating Intelligence Mastermind is the actual gym. It is a 16-week performance training environment for 12 men.
Yep.
It's built for the exact guys we talked about earlier. Type A, crushing it in business, but failing in their personal lives because they lack the specific physiological capacity.
In this environment, they run actual capacity drills, things like relational repair and pattern interruption.
Okay, I buy that relationship wounds heal in relationships. But pitching a bunch of highly analytical, type A business guys on sitting in a circle to talk about their feelings and their deepest shame, that sounds like a tough sell.
Oh, definitely.
Like, how does this not just devolve into a complaining session? How does a pattern interruption drill actually work in a room of 12 guys?
Well, it's not a venting session at all. It's highly structured stress inoculation. They literally simulate the interpersonal friction.
Like role play.
Sort of, but deeper. They might practice voicing an incredibly vulnerable truth while the group is instructed to react neutrally or even resistantly.
Oh man, that sounds intense.
It is. The man has to practice feeling that spike in his heart rate, the urge to defend, justify, or flee, and practice physically staying in the room, holding his ground without attacking back.
It's literal reps. You are proving to your nervous system in real time that you can be exposed, you can receive friction, and you won't die.
The text points out this profound psychological truth. You cannot outsource intimacy, and you cannot train capacity in a vacuum. You need the corrective experience of a controlled, safe environment to actually rewire the biological response.
That makes total sense.
Once the nervous system learns that vulnerability isn't a death sentence, you can finally bring that newfound capacity back to your partner.
It's the ultimate sparring ring before the title fight. So let's bring all this math together. The formula for engineering a successful relationship faster without all the endless guesswork is 1 decision plus 3 ratios plus nervous system capacity.
That's the formula.
You basically have to stop treating your romantic life like a mysterious weather system that you just have to suffer through and start building the capacity to actually steer the ship.
Because the math writes the workout plan, but the gym builds the muscle. The framework is just theory until you apply the resistance.
It's such a fascinating framework, and whether someone actually joins this 16-week mastermind or just takes these 4 questions to their own dinner table tonight, the core lesson is undeniable. You have to stop waiting for things to magically fix themselves and start training.
Absolutely. Start doing the reps.
But speaking of that training earlier, we talked about armor, that invisible childhood survival strategy currently sabotaging your adult life. Every single person has one. And according to the source material, inside this mastermind, week 2 is dedicated entirely to the armor audit.
Right.
And that audit leads directly to week 15, which is known as the hardest rep. It is the one specific, incredibly difficult conversation you have been avoiding for years, the one that will finally set you free.
The one you're terrified of.
Exactly. So it leaves you with a pretty massive question. What is your invisible armor? And what is the exact script for that one conversation you desperately need to have? You can't figure it out alone in your own head, and we certainly don't have your specific answers in this audio.
No, we don't.
The only place to uncover your armor and build the capacity to survive that conversation is inside an environment designed to push you there. The real question is, what are you going to do about it tonight? Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Take your first rep today.